So hi there, I'm Barry Pendergast. I'm president of Calgary Seniors Association and really enjoying the chance to share a little bit of story of one of my bucket list items and how I got into it. So for some time, I'd had a kind of interest in flying and never really knew how I would get into it. So let me show you. So here we are. Here's how I got into flying in the first place. This was a friend's biplane, a Stom, made in Belgium, and it was capable of flying upside down. Now, Dennis, who owned it, was a motorcycle dealer, and he asked me as an architect to design a building for him as a motorcycle dealer. And we decided actually after a few chats that we could, rather than exchanging fees, he could actually take me flying on occasions. And so he took me up in this plane many, many times. I remember kind of being a little bit scared hanging upside down because it didn't have any kind of cockpit cover. But it was kind of amazing, the things that we did, and we flew into flying breakfasts in it. But what it started was his passion to learn to fly. So in Britain, I joined a flying club and started to fly in a little Cessna 150. And then one day, after 12 hours of flying, the instructor said, take the plane over there. You're going to go and do a circuit by yourself. And so I took off, and frankly, at 400 feet, I was terrified without having the instructor by my side. But I quickly talked to myself, went around the circuit, did a perfect landing, went home, had a very stiff drink and said, I'll never do that again. But within 4 or 5 days, there I was off flying again, because it's like a drug and it's very difficult to give up on it. So I had about 400 hours flying as a captain in the left seat, and many, many different experiences, mainly flying to Edmonton on business. But I did have some fun times with our family. So here's a shot of flying with my son. My son probably was the member of the family who came flying with me quite often. And this was on a mountain checkout flight to actually fly over glaciers and all sorts of stuff. And here we are landing in a little one-way landing strip where you have no alternative but to land. And you have to do what they call Mickey Mouse turns to get the plane on the ground. But it was incredibly exciting. So after about 7 years of flying actively, I had to give up because I no longer had a business to pay for the fairly expensive part of flying. And so I sort of struggled a little bit. And then as I came to my 70th birthday, I said to the family, what about buying me a ride in a World War II fighter? And so this is what started to happen. And my daughter did a bit of investigation. And she came across this incredible group in the US, which is really retired Air Force military pilots who go around different airfields in the US, and they actually take you up and make you a combat pilot. And the thought of it was very, very exciting to go and do this. So here I am by the plane, a Marchetti RF, an Italian plane that was a pre-NATO jet trainer. And I'm looking fairly confident there in my outfit. They fit you up with a proper Air Force outfit, and for the first time actually wearing a parachute. I'd never worn a parachute before, but I thought I was looking rather good here in front of this beautiful plane. So in the beginning, once you enter this experience, you got, in this case, a retired military pilot who used to fly in Vietnam, and he's teaching us battle techniques. How are we going to look out for the enemy, and how we're going to try and shoot them down? It's kind of very much feeling like I'm a little boy again in this very exciting process. So the maneuver he's teaching us here is you're going to go into a loop, and you're going to come in behind your enemy, and you're going to shoot them down. So here I am in the cockpit, and my flight instructor in this case is a retired Marine pilot, and a really nice guy to fly with. And basically the opportunity was, as soon as we left the ground, I could be in control, because I had some experience of obviously flying a plane, but nothing quite as sporty as this plane. So here I am up in the air taking control. It's a joystick, which is slightly different from flying a Cessna or any of the normal American planes. But here I'm actually looking out for other planes around us, And we flew out of Boeing Field in this case, over towards the coastline where it's pretty remote. And basically 2 planes. First of all, we flew in formation to get used to doing that. And then basically we went through some prearranged attacks on each other, which were agreed. And then really it was just the open sky. Go out into the open sky and look for your enemy and try and shoot them down. And basically you have a proper gun sight. And here is a plane coming into the gun sight. And all I have to do is hit the trigger button. And lo and behold, smoke comes out of the wing of the other plane. And it's really quite exciting. So here's another shot where I'd probably just missed that particular shot. You've got to maneuver the plane with your rudder to aim it onto that particular plane and then hit the gun button. So as I said, part of the maneuver they taught us was to go into a loop basically, and here I am, I'm upside down. I think I had 5 Gs at the time. Not at all fearful at all. It's kind of weird because I'm actually quite scared of heights if I'm walking on a mountainside or a mountain ridge. But in a plane, I'm very, very comfortable to really do anything that the controls and the plane will allow me to do. So another shot of me upside down. I'm looking out for the enemy, trying to find them, because it's actually quite difficult to find the other plane, and particularly when you're flying against a very accomplished, experienced pilot who'd flown in Vietnam. He knows how to hide in the sky, and it's really a big open sky. I should say we were flying at about 8,000 feet, so we had plenty of space vertically to correct any kind of problems that might happen. And so I thought I would show a little sequence here. So here I am actually a short part of the video that was shot. They have 5 cameras in the plane. And so here I am, I'm looking for the enemy and looking all over, and you'll suddenly see right in the distance, there is the enemy. He's flying from right to left and I'm tracking him behind him. I'm going to go in, and here I am, I'm zooming in with my rudder to connect, and there I've hit the gun button and we actually got that person. Kind of a nice feeling. So it would be, I'd be waiting until my 80th birthday to go to the next experience. And my daughter, we were down in Mesa, joining them at one of the holiday places down there. And she gave me an envelope, and it was the next day I was to go flying in a World War II dive bomber, a Texan A6, I believe is the technical name. And so here is that sequence, flying over the airfield, and you should catch the side of me in the rear seat. And very, very exciting experience. And one of these where, again, you're sitting behind the main pilot. But as soon as I was getting in the plane, I said to the guy who normally flies for American Airlines, and he does this as a hobby on the weekend, I said, "You are going to let me fly the plane, are you?" And he said, "Of course, you're going to have a flying lesson." So this was amazing, flying a World War II dive bomber. We didn't have any bombs on board, but again, it was just a significant kind of a thing to do, and very exciting for somebody like me that is a little bit challenged, not being able to afford to fly, and probably medically I wouldn't be fit. And but to be up in a rather classic, iconic kind of plane that played a major part in World War II. So the only time I get to do any of these things now is in my virtual reality system. So I do have my I do have several headsets that I can now use, and I can actually fly very realistically in virtual reality with almost planes that perform exactly like the real plane. Fortunately, I can crash them and walk away from them. And I have been flying a Spitfire just lately and flying it out of Calgary International Airport, which is kind of amazing to have that feeling you're on that long runway taking off, and it performs just like a real Spitfire does, very lively, and can realize now why it performed so well in World War II. So I was going to say that this obviously is one of my bucket list items. It's the kind of thing that many of us want to do before we move on. And last year, I took a group of seniors out sailing for the first time. or many of them were sailing for the first time. So that was kind of amazing. 15 seniors on the reservoir sailing. All of them left the dock, all of them got back to the dock. So I'm looking for opportunities to take seniors out on things they've never done, but maybe they might like to have a crack at before they get to a point where they can't do them. And so I've actually suggested to some of our seniors, maybe someday when we get over the pandemic, they might like to come out and join me at Springbank and go up with an instructor and find how easy it is actually to fly a plane. Flying a Cessna is really a piece of cake and nothing to be scared about. So that's my story. I hope it will be an encouragement to others to try and go and do something which is a little bit out of the ordinary. It's certainly something that I'm very pleased to have in my memories. Thank you.